everybody. Thanks for joining me for Gethsemane / Hope Cities 7 at 7, whenever you're joining me and from wherever you're joining me. Please feel free to leave comments below. Let me know where you're listening from, or if you have any comments or whatever about what we're talking about tonight. So today is Sunday, November 8th, and we are still in our Don't Stop Believing series. This morning, Pastor John spoke about hope for healing. And you know, we also had a women's meeting yesterday, and there was something that was said in the women's meeting that kind of reminded me about what we're talking about today, or correlated, however you want to say that. And the thing that was said in the women's meeting, and this is going to sound a bit different if you were there, but God kind of just helped me switch it around a little bit, and maybe just for me, maybe for you also. But what I got was, we reserve the right to choose to place significance on any thoughts, ideas, emotions, or physical feelings that come to us, okay? We reserve the right to choose to place significance on any thought that goes through our head, any idea that goes through our head, any emotions that go through our head or that we feel, or any physical feelings in our body. And so how do we even place significance on something? Well, we place significance on things basically when we put energy toward them. And we put energy toward things when we talk about them, and when we, just pay attention to them, right? That's how we place energy towards things, and that's therefore how we place significance on something, okay? And so we have that choice of where to put our energy. God has given us that choice. We always have the choice of where we're going to direct our energy towards. And the thing about that is, we're going to expend the energy, all right? Each and every time, we're going to expend that energy. It's just that we have to decide which way that energy is going to go. And if you look in James chapter 5, verse 9, it says, when circumstances squeeze you into tight spots, don't make your problem your topic of conversation with one another. So that shows me that we don't have to put our energy on any of our problems or issues. There is no relief in feeling sorry for yourselves. That's kind of a side note, but it says, when you don't make your problem your topic of conversation with one another, while the Lord is left standing outside behind closed doors. So essentially, when we're constantly talking about our problem, we're kind of shutting God out of our life for that period of time. And it says to let him be the judge of your situation, because he already knows, the positive outcome that's possible, okay? And so, all right, if I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about this for healing for my physical body, which is what we talked about today, or even for my emotions or my mind or any of that, so how in the world can I put my energy on something else and stop talking about my problem when it's when it seems so significant to me right now? Like, if you have a debilitating disease, or if, for instance, you have, diabetes. I mean, that could be pretty significant, because you have to watch what you eat. You have to take really good care of yourself. But how can we expend our energy towards not making that significant and really making God significant? Well, if you read on in James chapter 5, verse 13, it says, if anyone is going through a tough time, and I would consider that going through a tough time, and that could be physical, mental, emotional, any of that, going through a tough time, let him worship. When times are good, sing praises. Don't take your lead from your negative or your positive circumstances. So, in other words, that tells me we should be steady with that. All right? And so, okay, I am really having let's say I'm really having a hard time, and got this debilitating disease, I can't get out of bed, or whatever. I don't feel like I can praise or I can worship right now. What do I do then? Next verse, James 5:14. If you feel too weak to worship, find encouragement in the care of those who are mature in their faith. It goes on to say, let them anoint you with oil and worship with you in prayer. Identify yourself in all the Lord's name represents. And his name always, always represents good things. It never represents bad or negative things in our lives. And something else, let's see, hold on, make sure I want to stop there. No, I don't want to stop there. I'm going to go on and read 5:15. It says, the prayer environment of faith shall restore the feeble. I'm going to read that again. The prayer environment of faith shall restore the feeble. The Lord shall revitalize and quicken you. He even forgives you anything stupid you might have done to have caused the situation. So I know lots of people say, oh, well, I brought this on myself. Let's just go back to the example of diabetes. Like if you had a lot of habits of eating bad and all that stuff, God's forgiven you of that. Not that you shouldn't change those when you know better, but God's forgiven you of anything wrong that you've done to even cause your situation. Okay, and what's so funny to me is science always will back up God's word. And so many people think that science and God's word are kind of at odds all the time. Well, that's not true. If you look it up, there are tons and tons of articles going back to the worship, because one way we worship God is through song, right? So going back to worship, there are so many articles about singing that actually say that it benefits our immune system. It boosts our immune system, and it can have benefits on your psychological, on your emotional, and on your physical body. Okay, so I think that's totally awesome. And something else that I thought was pertinent to bring up with this as well is I look up a lot of things about Dr. Caroline Leaf, and if you haven't heard of her, you know, please look her up. She's a really good resource that's, if you like kind of sciencey things that have to do with health and the brain. She is and I'm going to read this, communication pathologist, and she is also a cognitive neuroscientist. So those are fancy ways to say that she knows a heck of a lot about communication, and she knows a heck of a lot about the brain and how the brain works as far as what happens when we have thoughts. And basically she's done research, and she talks about how we really have control over our thoughts, and we can learn, if we don't know how to do that, we can learn how to have control over our thoughts, and how important it is to do that, because negative thoughts actually damage our brain. And positive thoughts, which brings me back to God's word. God's word is always good, and God always means good things for us. Positive thoughts and things about God's word are actually helpful to our brain and help it to grow and be healthy. All right. So anyways, I just thought that was super interesting. And something else I just wanted to say, after I'm finished, I'm going to put in the comments below that some of the songs that I use when I'm having trouble, because if I'm going to be totally transparent, I haven't really felt good all day long. And I was just upstairs with my husband, and I was like, man, I couldn't pinpoint it. I was like, man, I just don't feel good. I don't know what's going on with me. And God's like, hey, do you remember what you're going to talk about at your 7 at 7 tonight? Hello? Put that into practice. So guess what I did? I put worship music on, and guess what happened? I started feeling better, guys. I'm not joking. This is not, I don't kid about stuff like that. But anyway, I just want to encourage you to try that. Again, those verses are in James chapter 5. If you want to look them up. I read mine out of the Mirror Bible. But worship is really so effective, and watching your words when you're going through a tough time, speaking those good, positive words that God has already spoken over your situation. I hope this helped you tonight. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.